Hey y'all, listen. Night two of the relationship revival. Man, this is a revival like none other. And I want y'all to know that it's going higher and higher. But everybody, listen to me. Tonight is going to be so real and raw. I guarantee you. Get your boo, get your bae, get your husband, get your wife, get your friends. If you're married, if you're in a committed relationship, if you want to be in a committed relationship, we got real talk. Listen, marriage is for grown folks. I think I put that in my comments when I shared it. Marriage is for grown folks. This ain't no baby stuff. Y'all ever wonder why at the end of the love chapter the Bible starts talking about, and now so when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I acted like a child, I start carrying on because he knew. In other words, because marriage is for grown folks. It's just, listen, we getting real and raw. Put your children to bed because it's time for the grown folks to have this conversation about marriage, about expectations, about trust issues, about commitment. Listen, about restoration. Can these vows live? Can we get back together? Is this possible? We need to understand that vows is a verbal commitment that you make to somebody. And so some of you all may be in relationships, not in a place of marriage yet, but you just need to know, listen, some trust was broken, some stuff happened. Can they live? Can this relationship live? It may not just be you. It may be somebody that you are connected to, that you're saying, listen, y'all need to be in on this. And so we're going to deal with when should there be restoration? Is there hope for reconciliation? When do you just say, all right, let's leave well enough alone? We are going to put some things out there tonight. And I don't want y'all to miss not now, like my grandma used to say, not now minute of it. And so I'm giving y'all time to come on in. Make sure you guys are sharing. Listen, I appreciate you guys that are making sacrifices and coming in. Share, 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 just because you never know who this is going to help as people are making decisions to be married, newly married, been married a minute. Listen, need some shaking up, need some things to be renewed, restored, reconciled, and even marriage recognition. We need to recognize, are we ready for marriage? Is this something, is this something that I need to do? Or are there some traits that I need to recognize in this man? Is this woman displaying some things and I'm just so beguiled by him. I'm missing the signs that we are having this conversation tonight. Listen, even the singles, I promise you, this is going to be some things you're going to want to have. You're going to want to put some of this stuff in your arsenal. We're hitting every spot of relationships. I am making sure when I put this relationship revival tonight, this week, I wanted to make sure last night that we hit everything. Last night, I appreciate it. Everybody was saying how life changing last night was. I was joined by my spiritual father, Apostle John Eckhart, and he showed all the way out. We really dealt with father figures and father issues. Guess what? They show up in relationships. They show up in our marriage. Did you know that when men have father issues, when women have, they show up in marriage? We dealing with it all. And so we going straight from there into relationships, into our marriage, into potential marriage. We're dealing with everything. I want you guys to stay connected. Tomorrow night, we're taking it a round higher. If you have ever dealt with jealousy and competition and people not wanting to support you and trying to compete with you, and you can't share good news because you think people out trying to get you, they can't let you be great. We dealing with all of it. Or you feel intimidated because somebody you connected to is doing great and you feel like you should be doing, we covering it. We got you. Thursday night, we dealing with self-sabotage. Y'all know how it is. You get into relationships and then you start acting a whole fool because you feel like you don't deserve them. We dealing with it. Friday night, we doing singles. So some of you guys, I see that, we're like, what about the singles? We're going to touch on some of that tonight, but we got a whole segment just for y'all. Friday night, I'm bringing in two people that are going to take it to the next level. So I hope y'all are going to be, y'all in the house. I appreciate it. We dealing with it all. And so I want everybody to take a moment, even if it's not directly for you. You may know somebody, you may know some people. Share it in the inbox. Listen, put it in a Facebook group that you may have. If you're watching from YouTube, hello and welcome. Make sure you share if you're watching from Periscope and Facebook. I see y'all coming on in. You are not going to want to miss this. So welcome. I gave everybody a little time to get here. So I appreciate you guys so much. Welcome to the relationship revival. My apostle was saying last night, he was like, you always doing some unusual, original things. That's what pioneers do. He was like, I had never heard of a relationship vow. This is my first time in one. And so I'm glad to trailblaze and deal with something that I believe that is for this time, for such a time as this. We know, especially with this pandemic, a lot of us have been forced to look some stuff in the face. We've been forced to deal with some issues that, you can't run off to work. You can't run off with your friends. It's some stuff we've had to look in the face. And so we're going to deal with this tonight. We're going to deal with this grown folks thing called marriage. And we're going to deal with some of the misnomers about it. We're going to deal with some things that people may be assuming that may or may not be true. Before we get started and I introduce my guest, I want to invite all of you guys. I have something that I think is an amazing component that will complement this relationship revival, and I'm calling it the Relationship Recovery ebook bundle. Now, listen, Apostle was laughing at me last night because he said this bundle was off the chain. Just listening to the titles, he was just shaking his head and laughing. Three things that these relationships, they're very small books, but they're very targeted and they get to the meat of the matter, and they really help you no matter if you want to be married, if you're in relationships, even if you have friendships and you need to discern whether or not they're healthy for you. One of them is Married and Miserable, the reality behind the ring. We're going to deal with some of that tonight. Did heaven send them or did hell leave them? They're going to show you people connected to you. Listen, is this something that God meant for me? How do I discern whether they're supposed to be in my life? And then I don't trust you with me. We're going to deal with a little of that tonight. About how do you get to restoration, or should it be reconciliation? Are we extending forgiveness, trust, where we should just be extending forgiveness? So when I say we're going to do all of that, and so in these books, it's an ebook bundle. It's only $20 for the entire ebook bundle. I just put the link in the comments. Feel free at any point to purchase this ebook bundle. It will bless your life. I've been hearing from the people who downloaded it, and they said, look, I just got through one book and it was off the chain. And so quick reads that are going to bless you. Thank y'all so much. And so it's going to really, really bless you. And you can watch from my Facebook page, my personal page. I think I shared it to my private page as well, in our group, on any of our platforms. And so I'm grateful for all of you guys. I see y'all tagging. So let me introduce my special guest. Now, one of the things I was very deliberate in doing when I put this relationship revival together is that I wanted to make sure that I brought people that I felt some kind of way about, right? I know that a lot of times people have, and you know how it is with revival, you bring in the folks that you know, and sometimes you bring in folks you don't know. Well, I wanted to make sure that I brought in people that I felt some kind of way about. And I need to go ahead and say this. Y'all know I believe that truth plus transparency equals transformation. I want to say something. We used to say this all the time. We real friends, not Facebook, just Facebook friends. Like, we friends in real life. And Dr. Tracy Knighton, she is so amazing. She is one of my very best friends in the whole wide world. We just, we got the same spirit. Our birthdays around the same time. We just kind of got the same vibe. She's real talk, and just, I love everything about her. I declare she's a life therapist. She will make you get your whole life, and she got the degree to prove it, and she got the business to prove it, and she got a whole coaching, counseling, whole everything to prove it. And she's amazing. I'm so grateful. We're gonna be partnering together to do some amazing things. So, y'all stay connected. That's really going to help you. And then my brother like no other. And I don't refer to many people as my brother. I have three, two brothers, but he's my brother. I always say this, and we have to always get to the point where we give honor where it's due. I will always forever be indebted to this man, Pastor Lawrence Knighton. To know him is to love him. He was one of the people I've always given credit to that forced me to come from behind the camera and get in front of it. And I will forever be grateful. I liked hiding behind what I could do for other people. And he literally, I almost went Tupac, like, I ain't a killer, but don't push me. I almost went Tupac on him, because and then his wife, who's supposed to be my best friend, was instigating it. She would call and put us on three-way, just a whole bunch of drama. Y'all got to know about this relationship, right? And he pushed me to be great. And when I got out there, he didn't leave me by myself. He made sure he supported everything I did. And that's why when these people call me, text me, ask for anything, they gon' get it, because these are my true best friends. I love them to life. Welcome with me, everybody, if you will, Pastor Lawrence and Dr. Tracy Knighton. Hey, y'all.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
We are blessed to be here.
I'm so excited to have y'all. So excited to have y'all. Y'all listen, y'all showing out. Keep sharing because it's gonna be off the chain tonight. And you gonna listen. By the time we get, I got some Q&As that I'm throwing out there. And listen, this is how I feel about it. We gonna put some stuff out there that y'all might have been afraid to say to y'all husbands and wives. Just some things you might not have known how to express. Some things you may not have quite known how to articulate. You got the right power couple. This is what we doing. It's funny. When we were all together, we started the My Relationship movement. And they've taken the relationship movement to the next level. Y'all tell them before we get started and be off the chain, how can they stay connected with how y'all every single week empower marriages?
So listen, we are so excited to be here tonight. The threesome back together again, sharing together and having fun together because y'all crazy. I'd just be along for the ride. But they can stay connected to us through number one, the My Relationship Movement on Facebook. So check us out on that page. We have some vintage, some vintage footage there, and we also have some new stuff. And then they can check out Nova Counseling and Consulting on Facebook. So that's the private practice. And then I'll let Lawrence tell you a little bit about his pages.
Well, actually, you also have myrelationshipmovement.com, the actual website
Yeah.
that Elisa so graciously always put together for us. And then, listen, you can just stay in touch with us by following Elisa LaShell, because we follow her, and we're all hooked in together.
Well, listen, I don't even want to waste time because this is about to be off the chain. And I believe that I was talking to Lawrence earlier that after we get real and raw, I believe that there's going to be a prophetic wind. And I already kind of felt an anointing that is going to flow through, and a wind of reconciliation that's going to blow through for marriages, for men. Can I just say this? Because I want to make sure that y'all don't miss this. Men are going to really get some healing tonight. So I know a lot of times the women, we all show up and show out, but I need y'all to get some men on. I believe that some things that we're going to speak to tonight are going to speak to the heart of men. And I believe that we're going to be able to speak healing. And I think when the eyes of our understanding are enlightened, I believe we get to a place where we understand one another, that we get from talking at each other to talking to and with one another, and we're
Right.
looking at things from a different perspective.
Right.
And so I just want you to know that tonight is not just going to be real and raw. There's going to be reconciliation. There is going to be some revelation. There is going to be some healing. And so you get your men on. Your husbands are listening. Man, I love it, because I believe that there is going to be some healing, some things maybe husbands want to say to y'all women, and they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to stress you, but we gonna say it for them. Men, there are some things that your wife, she trying to spare you, but it's just some stuff she want to put out there. I just believe that the Lord is giving us prophetic insight, as he's always done, to say some things that really are going to help us in this place. We're seeing your comments. I'm so excited because we're going to be watching them as we go along to make sure that we're able to address some of the things that we see come up. So let's begin with something, Lawrence and Tracy. And I want to ask you a question. I want to allude to something. I was saying earlier that I wrote a book called Married and Miserable. And believe it or not, the book was not because I'm married and miserable, or because I think folks married and miserable. The book was, the subtitle was, is the reality behind the ring. And I opened the book by saying that, I remember in 2018, it was almost 29 million people watched Prince Harry and Meghan get married. And it was like fairy tale. And we were like, oh my God, look at that love. And then I started looking at statistics, and I started looking at over 50% of marriages end in divorce, and that there's one divorce almost every 36 seconds, and that's almost like 2,400 divorces a day. And that stats were showing that the average length of marriage is about 8 years now. And then that couples, the average age that they go through their first divorce is about 30 years old. And then it's interesting. In 1/3 of those marriages, one or both parties admitted to cheating. 22% men, but watch this, 14% were women. Stats also said that affairs usually occur after 2 years of marriage. 6 out of 10 couples don't admit that they're unhappy in their relationship. I need y'all to understand these are stats. We did the homework. 6 out of 10. Couples don't admit that they're unhappy in their relationship. Not that they don't love their boo, not that they didn't want to, but they don't admit that they're unhappy. Newsweek magazine reported that 15 to 20% of couples are in a sexless relationship. Ouch. 10%, I told y'all this real and raw tonight. 10% less of married people under the age of 50 hadn't had sex in the past year.
Huh?
Ouch. Oh yeah, we raw tonight. Man, I don't know what y'all were looking for, but we tonight. Lawrence and Tracy, tell me why y'all believe that these stats are what they are.
So, listen, here's what I am finding out is that people don't know how to engage. So, what ends up happening is they say I do at the wedding, but the marriage itself gets no attention. So now that
Whoa, Tracy. Whoa. You just got the whole mic. You said they say I do at the wedding, but they say I don't for the marriage. Man, this is
That's
what I'm
it.
trying to hear. Wow. And they don't give the attention. They give all the looks and all to the marriage, to the wedding,
To the
but no
wedding.
attention to the marriage. Man, this is good already. Come on.
Listen, so now you at the house and now you've said I do, and now you waking up with the same person every day, going to bed with the same person every night. Nobody teaches you how to engage that in between time. What do I do with somebody that I wake up with every day? When he get on my nerves, I can't go nowhere. When I say something twisted to him, he can't go nowhere. So how do we learn how to engage in those relationships? Nobody teaches us that. So hence, when I think when all it took was to say I do to get in this relationship, listen, when the tough get going, I'm gonna say I don't and I'm leaving. That's
Wow.
why those stats are so high.
That's good. Lawrence, what's your
I
take
think,
on it?
yeah, I think another reason why the stats are so high is literally because when the scripture and actually talks about not being unequally yoked, I think what ends up happening is a lot of people are unequally yoked in the beginning, but they try to yoke up and they never ever end up connecting with each other like they should. So we end up trying to yoke up after the ceremony when we should have been yoked up before the ceremony.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest part of it, because we don't. And another thing is, women. I've always said this: women just don't know how to ask the right questions. And so the thing about it is, until we as individuals understand that scripture talks about being unequally yoked, it's going to be difficult for people to really have the type of statistics that go in the other direction of being healthy. And I just think that's another part of it.
And here's one more part of it. We try to make a connection out of a hookup.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
This was and I believe it goes back to the fact that a lot of times we don't know how to discern correctly. I say all of the times that our dysfunction distorts our discernment. So we think this is marriage material. No, that was hookup material. And now you're trying to make a connection out of a hookup. And you wondering, I don't understand. It was so much chemistry at the beginning. No, baby, that was a spark. Anytime you trying to grab something into an outlet, every now and again, you're going to get a spark. You that ain't power. You just got a spark. And so what happens is, and that's why we're having this conversation, because we get to this place sometimes where there was a facade. I said the other night that people project perfection, and it's a lie. And we're sitting there trying to emulate stuff. And y'all know how it was, especially in the old days, where a lot of marriages were it was a perpetuation of perfection. And I just want a marriage like my mama and daddy had. Did you ask them what kind of marriage they had? Did you?
And what it looked like behind closed doors.
But that's so good though. And so we're sitting there. And so what will happen is we'll be attracted to the same kind of man our mama was attracted to. And all we saw that he was charming and didn't know that he was a slickster. And then we look around and saying, this joker just conned me out of my whole life. What happened? Because we don't, as you said, we don't know how to ask the right questions. We don't know how to get the reality behind the ring. And most of it is because nobody's telling us the truth.
Exactly. I agree with that. If I can just interject one more thing. One of the things that women and in marriage, I just say, and I guess a lot of times I always try to come from the male perspective to give insight and enlightenment to the women. But one of the other things that I noticed is that a lot of times if a woman, whenever a couple meets, the bottom line is, to me, the man should be leading the conversation, but women end up doing all of the talking, because what we're trying to do as men is figure out how we can do what we need to do to get what we want. When the truth of the matter is, the women should be sitting around listening. And if a man can't hold a deep conversation for 10 to 15 minutes, he's not the right one.
Woo, wait, hold on. So what you're saying to us, because here's it, and this is why I love this, because I think in one of my ebooks, I really talked about the communication, and I know we're going to get to it, but you already in it. And so I started talking about how communication is such a vital aspect to marriage, because we want to be heard, but some things get in the way. And one of the things, and Trey, you might be able to speak to this, one of the things happens is that we have emotional reactivity that's getting in the way because of how we feel. You know, women, y'all know we always trying to decipher. Well, if he scratches left ear, maybe that means. And if he sit back and so we trying to decipher. And then men, y'all trying to read body language. Don't ever try to do that, because we'll fool you every time. And so it's this it's this miscommunication. Even when you're married, there is a place of miscommunication. And so I was thinking about some of the things as we start talking about this, and as we just kind of really dive into, we understand the miscommunication. I want to go through a couple of things that really get us to go left, especially when it comes to relationships and marriage. Physical things that are in the way. Phones, your mom-in-law, other people, you just want, tell me how that gets in the way of our ability, us as people in relationships, how to do outside physical things, people, jobs. I got to be to work. I'm trying to provide for you. How do physical things get in the way of the relationship?
So when you talked about getting a spark, the other thing that happens too, when we plug into an electrical outlet, sometimes that outlet is simply dead. So we're trying to plug into things that don't pour back into us. And so I'm so busy trying to earn a living that I'm not living my life. And so those things end up getting neglected. And so after a while, even a dog that doesn't get fed is going to go find somewhere else where he can get fed. And so when we choose to do these other things instead of spending quality time with our spouse, learning how to communicate, because each person is different. So you've got to learn how to communicate. You can't communicate to your spouse the same way you communicated to your first boyfriend. That ain't
or you can't talk to your spouse like you talk to your daddy. Or your mama.
Exactly. And even with that, even as your marriage matures, there are certain wants, expectation, needs, and non-negotiables that take place in a marriage that if you don't go back to them on a regular basis, as your spouse is changing and growing and maturing, you're going to miss out. Because what your spouse wanted when y'all first got married is not the same thing they want 10 years later.
Right.
It's not the same thing they need 15 years later. So there has to be that constant round of communication where I'm getting to learn you. That's the exciting thing about marriage. Some people say marriage is not exciting. Listen, when you want to learn your spouse, just like you want to learn a new language, just like you want to learn a new hobby, just like you want to learn how to cook, listen, learning how to be married is fun.
It's fun. So Lawrence, you okay? I just want to make sure you're good. Are you good?
I'm ready.
So I want to ask you, Lawrence, about something. So when it comes to this, because I know a lot of women and men get agitated about trying to have a conversation with their significant other and their head stuck in that phone. What is it? Can you help the people of God, the kingdom folks out? Because we be wanting to throw the whole phone away, whether it's a man or a woman. And you be saying, do you not see all of this deliciousness right here in front? I just don't understand. What's the problem? Why are you making me feel as though something that I am saying is not relevant or has any type of, why is it not? What is that? What makes us feel like, is it because we've taken each other for granted? Is it because, I'm hearing you because you're sending the signal. I already know what you're going to say. I don't even have to put, what is that? And can we talk about, as a man, what signal it sends to a man when you trying to talk to them, when they're trying to talk to you and you on your phone doing something else. And then again, on the other end, what signal does that give to the other person when you're trying to communicate and they just on the phone, or watching TV when you're having these conversations? Because listen, the people are asking, please tell me cell phones ruin
Cell phones kill relationships.
talk to us. What message are you really sending when you're doing it? Because some folks be ready to fight and we trying to be easy, but help us with that part.
I was hoping I didn't have to go left tonight, but like I might
Yeah,
have
listen,
to.
this is what we here for tonight,
And so
Doc.
here's the thing. Let's go back a little further first, and then let me walk up to the question.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we have to understand, and especially women, is that men have never been the greatest of communicators. We have always struggled with communication, and I mentioned this before, and a lot of the reasons for that is simply because when we were young, we were taught not to share our emotions, because most boys, and I've mentioned this a lot because it's true, most boys, when they're young, 5, 6 years old, they fall off their bike, their head busted, we tell them big boys don't cry.
Right.
Yep.
So what that did, that taught us to hold your emotions, don't communicate, don't say what you're really feeling. And so now if you go up to 2020, cell phones, texting, so you'll find that men have a better, they rather text what they feel than to have a verbal conversation, which is never good, because what you ended up doing, women, what you're doing, you're actually allowing him to get further away from you as it relates to communication. So now you're misreading what they're writing, and now you got another argument. Well, I didn't mean it like that. You got to understand, we never knew how to communicate anyway.
But you just said something powerful. I think we need to pause there. You said that if what we're doing is we're reinforcing negative behavior.
Yeah.
So if we're tired of, I wish you would just call me and stop texting, but I text you back. So I'm reinforcing it anyway.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's one of the worst things that couples can do, if you ask me, especially if you got a disagreement. Let's just wait till we get home. Let's discuss it, because what ends up happening is a small situation gets a lot bigger only because of the way a person interpreted. So if you got a person like Dr. Apostle Eckhart said last night, who has dealt with rejection, one little word in a text message will send them back to rejection.
Come on, sir. This is good. Tracy, this is so good. Let's stay here. What, as a therapist, when one person, it doesn't matter if they're the man or the woman, if one person is trying to communicate and the other person has a physical something in front of them, they're doing something, we can listen. This even with our children, you talking to them and they on the phone. What does that say? It doesn't matter what they intend. I can listen at you, we can hear it. I can hear you at the same time to be on my phone, and we'd be like, that ain't the point. I'm watching TV. I hear you keep talking. What is that, as and that standpoint, what is that really communicating? Because we're communicating something there. What are we saying?
Absolutely. That what you're saying is not as important as what I'm doing right now.
Wait. We just said what? I need y'all to hear this. Men, when you do this, women, when you do this, you're saying what? That what you're saying is not as important as what I'm doing right now. So my husband watching football, I'm trying to talk to him. He looks over and nods. He's saying what you're saying is not as important as football. The wife is on YouTube giggling at something. The husband trying to talk, and she's like, "Oh, okay then." What this video that I'm watching is so I can't. It's wow. And so what does that do to the person who is trying to communicate and sees this blatant disrespect of my want to communicate, this lack of interest, this disengagement? What is that saying, or what does that make them want to resort to doing?
Exactly. So let's start with what it says to that person indirectly, that they are not important. The person standing before you, be it your child, your spouse, that person is not important. So the person may say, well, I never said that. No, you didn't have to, because body language is 60% of language. So we read body language before we actually hear the words that are coming out of your mouth. So your body language is telling me that 60% of what you actually doing right now, even though your words are telling me I'm important, that you hear me, 60% says I'm not important. So now I walk away feeling rejected. I walk away feeling like I don't matter, because whatever you've put before me is now more important than me.
So
Let me add one quick thing. also. The other part of that is what we have to understand is a lot of times men are listening to try to figure out how to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really paying attention to all of the other
words that we have.
Other words. We're already trying to figure out, like, okay, hurry up so I can go and figure out what you're trying to say or figure out what I need to do. But we have to get to the point as husbands, as men, to just learn to listen without having any distractions. And you gotta be able to have that communication is dual.
But Lord, you said something powerful here. Woo, this is so good tonight. I hope y'all loving this because I had to learn something when it comes to communication. I've shared this before. We have to understand the language barriers and the language triggers, somebody said, and the language community that the person is coming from. So I grew up in a family who talks overlapping. We talk over each other. Everybody just kind of talk together and we can hear everything everybody's saying. And this is just, you come into our house and everybody just talking and it's just overlapping communication. And we happy about it. My husband grew up, he's older guy, everybody, one person talk, everybody listen, you don't answer quick, you let it marinate a little bit, and then you respond, ain't nobody really loud, they say what they're gonna say. So when we first came together, he was offended by how my family carried on. He would just be like, what, and he thought I was being disrespectful because I'm talking when he's talking. I wasn't trying to cut him off. We communicate like that in my family. And so he would just be like, if I could just get a word in, I thought we would communicate. And he would sit, and so then I would just sit, and he would just be talking, and he listening. I just, because I took that as I can't say nothing. So then he like, did you hear me? Yep. That's it. So what happens is a lot of the times when we don't understand and so we actually had to have a conversation about we overlap, but because I understand that aggravates you, now I have to say, and I literally have to bite. I have to start biting my lip. Let me just bite my lip because I ain't just because I want to say something so bad, and so I just have to hold it. And then I notice with him, I have to say, did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I was saying? I heard you. I want feedback. I'm used to feedback. Say something back to me so I can get. And he was like, I nodded. Like I said, okay. So talk about how we don't think about those cultural, the family culture balances that put us in these places, and how do we get to the place where we acknowledge those barriers? Because we feel them, but we just like, oh, I'm just sick of that. Just never mind. I won't even tell you. So how do we understand that communication culture?
And that's the part that I was talking about earlier. Marriage is fine because you got to learn. Listen, I had the same issue with Lawrence when we first got married. He's from Syracuse, so everybody talk loud up there. Everybody talk hard up there. So I'm a Southern belle. You gotta approach me gently because I shut down. And so he would get aggressive with the way that he was talking. But I had to learn, as I learned him. As we continued in the marriage, that when he gets excited, that's how he is. So it wasn't directed at me, but there had to be conversation in between the exciting conversations or the conversations where he felt passionate about something. We had to sit down and have conversations with each other where I had to let him know, listen, growing up in the house I grew up in with parents who raised their voices at each other, it sends me back to my childhood where my parents weren't nice to each other. And so there was baggage that I had to deal with when he would talk to me passionately, when he was talking about something and his voice got elevated. I had to be like, Lawrence, your voice getting elevated. He says, but I'm not fussing at you. I'm just excited about what I'm talking about.
Listen,
so it's reassuring to me, that, wait, I ain't got to tune you out because you screaming at me. I ain't got to go back to my childhood and remember how my mom and daddy used to scream at each other and pull out that baggage. But I have to remember that, oh, okay, he's excited about what he's talking about. And it's okay for him because I'm in a safe place. But that took lots of conversations between Lawrence and Tracy. Between Lawrence and Tracy in between those times. So give you another example, like I know not to talk to him when he's watching the 6 o'clock news. Now, if he's watching the news, I know not to go approach him and have a deep
Mhm.
conversation with him and then get in my emotions because he's
Mhm.
watching the news versus paying attention to me.
Yep.
I had to learn that about him.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm going back to. You've got to learn this person that you said I
Yeah.
do to.
Yeah. That's good. Lawrence, you want to add something to that? Because you are aggressive, but I had to
Oh
realize.
no, no, not at
But
all.
I'm married to somebody ex-military, and my daddy was. We talked about last time. My daddy was very soft-spoken, and so my husband go to talking aggressively. My nerves got bad, and I would do it. Tracy did. I shut down, and I said, "You fussing? I don't know why you so angry. I'm not angry. I'm trying to." And I'm just like, "Oh Lord, this ain't gonna work for me." But I had to realize, when he's making a point, as you said, passion. I tell you, I feel like you coming at me, and now I don't know if I need to run or fight. What we doing here? I just don't and so understand it, as you said, Lawrence, and I want to get to something and ask you specifically about this, Lawrence, as we're dealing with this, because this is going to lead us into talking about the trust issue. Is a lot of times our inability to hear is because of psychological interference. And so if we're mad, or if we dealing with something else, or if we got something else going on, I had to finally get to a place where I would tell people, I'm mad, I can't hear nothing else you saying right now. Like me and my husband, we going, I would say, hey, listen, so I can be honest with you, stop. I can't hear nothing else you saying right now, because the psychological interference has said, whoa, I can't get past the first sentence he said because I didn't say that, and now I want to interrupt them, but now I got to answer. So let me stop. How do we deal with, as men that are listening to this, as women, is that, are you just gonna hear what I need to say? Is that a time where we just supposed to just get it on out, or is that a time where we kind of come to grips with what we're thinking? And what does that do when a woman, and you already know it, we be mad about something happened last week, but we wouldn't say it, and then you come in and you drop something on the floor. I can't believe you dropped that on the floor. Psychological interference, and we just been looking for an excuse to tell it. Talk about how you see that manifest in relationships and couples, and in your life, how that has come up.
Well, I think that one of the things that we have to always realize is that, again, for men, we just communicate totally different.
Mhm.
And so I personally, and Tracy can attest to this, I personally don't get angry. I don't get upset, mad. And the thing about it is, you have to really find the right time to communicate.
Right.
Because what ends up
Yeah.
happening is, when you're at that point, you're saying, listen, no, you're going to hear me.
Yep.
It's just going to cause
Yep.
other friction in other areas of the relationship. And you
Yes.
start to break down your own walls between each other,
Yes.
instead of learning how to best communicate, when to best communicate. And I think all of that goes back to really talking about your wants, your needs, your expectations, and your non-negotiables. So for me, if I'm telling you, when I get to the point, see, we got a thing where, well, we don't have to, but most times it's best for couples to have a thing where they say, okay, let's stop right here. So whenever you get to that point of somebody about to cuss each other out and all that kind of stuff, you want to have, somebody has to be the one to say, listen, we're not going to cross this line. And if you see yourself getting heated,
that's so good.
it's best to just, y'all, hey, let's
And
just
that
take a
has
break.
to happen before that heated moment,
Exactly.
like you were saying.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Because there has to be what we call the ground rules for fair disagreement.
Right.
Ooh,
Like
this
one
is
would tell you,
good.
we've never had an argument. We've had disagreements because we're two totally different people from two totally different backgrounds. So we don't always see eye to eye on stuff. But he's never called me out my name. We never slept in separate bedrooms. We've never gone beyond a whole day. I ain't talking to him 5 days later. We don't do none of that, because we learned early on the key to a good marriage, a healthy marriage, a growing marriage, a marriage that produces good fruit is communication. So I can come back to him and say, Lawrence, you know what? I felt some kind of way, or he can come back and say, you know what, T, that didn't quite go the way I planned, or this, and this. But because we are in constant communication, rarely, I don't even know of a time where one of us took something left, because we put those ground rules early on. The non-negotiables, those are like Moses' 10 commandments etched in stone.
Good. Ground
those are your 10 commandments, and those are relational. No matter what relationship you're in. Give you an example. One of them, you can't call me out my name.
Mm-hmm.
He can't call me out my name. My daughter can't call me out my name. My coworker can't call me out my name. My children can't call me out my name. So those are non-negotiables. They don't change.
Wait, Trey, you've called me out my name before, and
But
it was to
no,
bring me in. But yeah, no. You called me a punk, and it was some other few and and you did. We just gonna be real and raw up in here. But you can do that because you knew
but
it
I
was
did
me.
it out of love.
I hear you.
Okay.
What we saying is, it's gonna always be an exception to the rule. But no, for real, I love the fact that you said this. I say often that honor your emotions, but don't let your feelings make you act like a fool.
That's
And
it.
Right.
so we
Right.
honor our emotions. We honor. We're not telling people when you mad, just suck it up. Don't say nothing.
No.
When you angry, no, honor them, but don't let your feelings make you act like a fool. I can articulate, and that's the part we laugh about this all the time. But use your words, and so we got to develop. I say this all the time: the language of the learned. You acting like the only thing you know how to do is yell and cuss and scream and walk out. No, honor your emotions, but don't let your feelings make you act like a fool. I
That's it.
need to honor you and say, listen, I love you. But that right there, that's gonna be the last time we deal with that because see right there, we listen, me and my husband almost got divorced over a Snicker bar. And I'm just trying to tell y'all just a foolish little one thing, and it had nothing to do with no Snicker bar, but that was like because everybody, and sometimes I think we get to the place where we tiptoe around one another,
Around. Mhm.
thinking we are respecting each other, but
Right.
we're really dishonoring one another because we're saying, I can't trust you, which is what we're about to get into. I can't trust you with my emotions. And
Right.
so we say things like, oh no, I just don't even tell my husband about this because he can't handle it. Oh, I would never. I got to hide this from my wife. She can't handle it. Do you see how disrespectful it is? First of all, are you God? Did you build him? Did you build her? How do you
Yeah.
know what her capacity or his capacity is to take information? And so we're dishonoring the
Right.
relationship because what we really are saying is, I don't trust you enough to give information and
Right.
believe that you're going to respond to me the correct way.
Right. I often say that love is an inside job. You love from the inside out. So you can't give to somebody else what you don't have for yourself. Trust is the same way. You trust from the inside out. So the more you trust yourself, the better you are at trusting and learning other people. So until you deal with your own issues of loving self first and love and trusting self first, then your relationships are going to only mirror your mess within.
That's
And then,
good. Go ahead, Lawrence.
and I was saying, then a lot of times, a lot of the reason why people don't trust is because of something that may have transpired
Mm-hmm.
in a past relationship that they bring to the current. And so because a person had been betrayed or whatever the case may have been, they don't realize that sometimes that residue can be carried over into the marriage, into the other relationship, until you start looking for something that's going to be a situation where, okay, here we go again. And so we have to be careful that we don't allow those things that have transpired in our past to go over into our present relationships, present marriages.
Yeah, and that's why I want to deal with it. And so we're going to shift over, and now this is going to get a little touchy, but listen, I hope
Let's
y'all
get it.
ready for this. So let's deal with these trust issues. I said that one of the ebooks that I showed you guys at the beginning that I wrote in the relationship recovery bundle was, I don't trust you with me. I don't trust you. And at the beginning of the book, I started talking about trust. And one thing, let me throw a quote out there that I came up with. I said, what you won't face in the mirror, in your reflection, you'll end up facing what you won't face in your mirror, you end up facing it in your reflection. Your relationship is a reflection of something on the
Oh yeah.
inside of you, right? And so I don't want to face that. Your children are a reflection of what's on the inside of you. Your
Right.
choices are a reflect. So if I won't face it in the mirror, it's gonna still show up in my
For
reflection,
sure. For
which is
sure.
why I even came up with, you can't fix what you don't face. And so I want to deal with trust. When you look at the definition of trust, it is, first of all, a reliance on someone else's integrity, their strength, their ability, their surety. It's saying, I put my total confidence on somebody else. The problem is we skip over the word reliance. And so when you rely on somebody, you are saying, without thinking, without putting any
Right.
concessions, here
Right.
you under all circumstance, unwavering. I know for that ain't even biblical. The Bible, first of all, tells us, give your trust to me. because I'm a man that I can't lie. Can we just tell you, I don't care how much we love each other. I love y'all, but we have the propensity to lie. We have the propensity to
Right.
fail. We have the propensity
Sure.
to slip up. And so a lot of times what happens is we don't understand the connotation of trust in what in what it means. I have faith that you'll do the right thing, but I also understand that humans are fallible. I also understand
Sure.
that if you get under the right circumstances in the right moment at the right time, I also understand that you are human. And so I want the biggest thing, and I want y'all to speak to this, is I say to people, and I said it in the book, your trust is an expensive gift that not everybody can afford. I'm going to say
Exactly.
this again because I need y'all
Yes.
to catch this. Your trust is an expensive gift that not everybody can afford. And I start saying, stop giving away your trust without checking folks' credit. Can you afford this? Let me check your credit. You
Mhm.
go try to buy something expensive if you want to. Let me check your credit. And so
Right.
I want to talk about why, because a lot of the reasons we have these issues is because we just giving away trust. Here you go. You want trust. We like Oprah. You get trust and you get trust. All of y'all can have my trust. What's the problem, Tracy, with that mentality?
Listen, you open yourself up to all kind of boundary violations.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. You just said a catchphrase. You open yourself up to what?
All types of boundary violations.
Did y'all hear that? I need y'all. That's listen. I told y'all Trey be coming up with it. Boundary violations. That is so good. Keep going with that. That's good.
So what ends up happening is not either one or two things. Either we build a wall to protect ourselves and to keep people out because we don't know how to trust people or we don't appropriately trust people, or the opposite happens. We just let the floodgates open, and then you get people who have boundary issues, and they get too close to you, and they display too much, and they disclose too much about themselves. So that is one of the things that we have to really work on when it comes to how do we set appropriate boundaries with
Right.
people? What do
Mm,
those look like? And how
mm,
do we know that a boundary or a person is safe? Well, in most instances, that is taught to you by your parents. But if your parents are not around, or if your parents had issues with their own boundaries, now you got children who have boundary issues, because we all been in situations and circumstances where we've all seen little people ask questions they probably shouldn't ask.
mm-hmm,
Right. Or we've been in situations where adults were just a little too friendly and y'all just met. Really?
mm-hmm.
That's how y'all just met.
Boundary
People,
violations.
yeah, those are examples of people who have those boundary violations. Look, your boundaries aren't quite set up appropriately. So
That's so good.
boundaries are meant to protect us, but they're not meant to totally isolate us.
That's good. So, Lawrence, what do you think from a male perspective?
That's
So,
good.
a lot of women, because we getting raw tonight, y'all. A lot of women feel as though because they looking for heroes. I'm just going. Here we go. Just here you go. I'm just gonna give all of my faith, all of my trust, all of my whatever. Here you go. What does that say
Mhm.
to a man when a woman is saying, forget you earning this, you ain't checked my credit, I'm just gonna give you all this unadulterated trust and faith? What kind of pressure, number one, does that put on a man, and panic probably does that put on a man, and what does that say to, what is that in that man's mind? What is he thinking about this woman? We need to hear from a man.
Well, I think here's the thing. Again, as you were saying a second ago, that trust is earned. Trust is not given. And that's one of the things that we have to come to grips on. You can't just put trust in a man's hand, especially because a man is not always going to do the right thing with the trust. Because the thing about it is, for a man, if a woman gives a man gives the man their trust
Mhm.
off the rip, then he's automatically going to start thinking, I've got this in control. All I need to do is know how to play my cards right.
Shush.
And so, and that's the thing,
Ouch.
because my girl, she trusts me, and
Mhm.
that's a very dangerous thing for a man,
Mhm.
because when a man knows, hey, my wife trusts me, all I gotta do is just call and tell her I'm going to the store, and if
Mm.
we home for 2 hours, I'm going to my girl house, because they automatically sense that, wow, she trusts me like that.
Mhm.
And
And
the
not
thing
making
about
them
it is,
earn it.
yeah,
Mhm.
they'll take
Yeah.
it to the limit now. They'll
Yeah.
take it to
Mm.
the limit.
So which brings me to this. This is good. What happens? Ooh, it's gonna get deep when it's took to the limit. So now let's deal with when a person has just completely decided, because a lot of times, and I say all of the time, stop confusing trust with forgiveness. I can forgive you and still not trust you another day.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
can I can love you and still not trust you another day. And so we know we should always forgive, and we should always, but I said something that when you extend your trust to somebody, it's an unspoken agreement that, you're gonna protect my integrity, you're gonna be faithful, you're gonna be loyal,
Right.
you're not gonna betray me, you're gonna hurt. But what happened is we give, and we've said this before, the same people different opportunities to hurt us, to disappoint us. And so after a person has shown us that they can lie in our face, and they only after being caught and confronted, not because they confessed. Oh, y'all better catch that. Not because they confessed, but they was caught or confronted, and then they continue to go in, and they show us that they have no respect for our love, our sacrifice, our patience. We turn around and we keep extending trust back to them. So how do we get, or how do we recognize when it's a cycle? Again, you don't want to throw the whole man away because he got some issues, but how do we differentiate between that cycle of I'm just doing you any kind of way because you let me, or I'm dealing, and Lawrence, we just gonna tell the truth. You got the men that pull the Ike and Tina on us, and like, baby, I got issues, and just, let me, I had one that said, the devil just kept coming on me. And just don't leave me another note about the devil. When do we finally get to a place where we see, or we understand this is what this man is really telling us about him? When do we get to this place? How do we recognize that?
Well, I mean, the key to any of this is going to be changed behavior. And
Mm.
it is most times this is one thing I always say, most times men are not really sorry and apologizing or they're just sorry and apologizing that they got caught. And one of the things, and that's nothing new for women, they know it, but do you know what? They'll forgive, which is fine. And the thing about it is you got to get to the place where you look at the behavior.
Mm.
Can he put his phone on the table and not feel like I've got to take this to bed with me? And that's the thing about it, because women, you got to realize that there are certain things that we are going to try to cover and keep under wraps. If I wouldn't really go there, but
no, go there. This is what the people pay for.
Change behavior is what determines whether or not you can extend some more trust to a person.
But now, Lawrence, when the man good though, see, and you hit on something good, because the people going crazy in the comments about this changed behavior. Because what happened is these jokers, they flip on us and go to making it feel like it's your fault, and now you looking like
gaslight you. That's called gaslight.
You just flip me around, and it's smoke screens, and so now we forget to look at change behavior, because now did I do that? You helping us, because you need to alert the people. Y'all got to be looking deep. Get past that smoke screen. Change behavior. This is so good.
Yeah, change behavior. I mean, I literally mean that if I, and this is the thing about, and most times, like you were doing the statistics earlier, and in relationships, but infidelity is a big thing. And again, now the numbers are climbing with women as well,
right?
Because women are at a point now where they feel like if he does it, I'm gonna do it too. And that's never a good thing. But the point I'm making is, I have to be able to come out of my comfort zone, especially if there's been infidelity in it, to the point where I don't need any hindrance, anything that makes my spouse, my significant other, think that I'm going to go back and do the same thing. So what does that look like? That looks like, baby, you know what? When I come home in the evening times, I'm not answering no calls. My phone is here. No, I'm not going to turn it off now, because, sometimes we turn it off. Well, I'm just going to turn it off. No, you turn it off so your phone don't ring and all that stuff. And you got to have a lock on your phone and all that type of stuff. Well, I don't want my phone to get, no. If you have been caught up in something, you need to give your spouse, whether it's male or female, the ability to know that I am truly sorry, and my behavior is going to show that I'm going to let you know why. And here's the thing. Here's the other thing, Lisa, is that what a lot of times people don't understand that, so for a man, it says, well, a woman wants to just know where he is, for instance, right? But a man's like, I ain't got to tell you where I'm going all the time. It's not that. It's just that if something happens, I need to know how to get in touch. It's not a matter of I need to pinpoint everywhere you're going. No, it's not that at all. The bottom line is a healthy relationship is going to say, hey, I'm going to run over to such and such house or whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be a situation where I need to know where you are and every 10 minutes I'm calling you. No, that's called possessiveness. That's not something that you want to get into anyway. It's a whole nother conversation.
That is so good.
The thing is, we got to get to the point where we understand that, trust, once it's broken, man, it's difficult.
So Tracy, let's stay here for a second. Somebody just posted exactly what I was going to say. So if unfaithfulness is a choice, then isn't faithfulness. Let's talk about a lot of people are saying, so what happens? And Lawrence, that was so powerful about showing men that, or women, when you've messed up and y'all are deciding you're going to stay together, then you don't get to get an attitude when that person says, I need to put some other things in place until I feel like you've earned my trust back. You don't get to get an attitude. How long you going to hold that over my head? Now, women, you also don't get to just hold it out there because I say this, we got, you can't hold, that's holding them hostage. You can't, that's not what we're trying to do. But how do you, Tracy, when it comes to making choices, a lot of times we internalize other people's bad choices. It's so good. So if somebody else cheats, instead of saying they made a choice to cheat, we feel like, what did I do? I must not be enough. Or if, she did this, that must mean I wasn't good. And we internalize it and forget, as Lawrence said earlier, forget about behavior patterns and change behavior because we now so busy are internalizing it. So let's talk about what that says about the person, their ability or inability to change the behavior.
Right. He about to jump out his seat, so he got to say so.
One thing real quick, and I'll turn it over to her. Here's another thing that women, I want you to understand. Prior to you getting married, if your spouse was not able to control himself sexually before you got married, what makes you think he can control himself after?
Wait, hold on. So what you're saying is, if you were running around in the streets trying to catch him at the hotel when y'all were dating, then magically, because I said this in my book, we feel like the wedding is like Salt Bay. We just gonna sprinkle this. When this ring comes on, all of a sudden she gonna morph, and we wake up and she be like, "Oh, I don't cook." Wait, hold on, because we married now. No, I wasn't cooking before we got married. And so if he was out there, what? So you saying that if the behavior patterns were telling us the truth, that just because we made a vow, that all of a sudden they ain't gonna just shift magically because he understands now the responsibility that now he's a husband, and now that there's more at stake, that we signed some paperwork and we got a video we can show the people. It's some a photo album. You telling me
in a ring?
Got ring. All that stuff.
And here's the other part. If the two of them prior to getting married couldn't control their sexual appetite, getting married just means I got her now. My eyes still work. I still watch. I still see. And the truth of the matter is, we have a hunting spirit. Men are hunters by nature. Once they capture something, that's why we can sit in the woods looking for a deer to come by for hours and hope we get a shot at him. And I'm saying to you that in relationships, if prior to a person getting married, a couple getting married, again, I'm saying it, and I mean this when I say it, if they couldn't, I'm talking about the husband and wife now who were together prior to getting married, if they couldn't handle their sexual appetite prior to that, that doesn't mean the man's going to stop afterward. Now, the woman would be more content to be like, okay, I'm married now. And so, but a man, he felt like, shoot, I got her now, so I'm good.
So Tracy, what does that say for the people who are in relationships with habitual liars or cheaters or just, I mean habitual, of course we are all for reconciliation and restoration. We are all for that. But what happens, what is that really saying? Because at some point there's a line, as you said, a lot of times we forget to make the non-negotiables up front. And when we're stuck in it, we feel like, and folks will say it, well, you didn't say nothing then, so don't try to say anything about it. Like I'm saying? You knew that then, so don't try to say anything now. So what happens? What are we saying about ourselves, when we allow a perpetual state of personal prostitution to happen with us? What are we really saying?
We're saying to ourselves that we're not important. So when you look at a person's behavior and you're looking at what they're continuing to do, either one, you're codependent on that person.
Yes.
That's the first thing. Number one, either you're codependent on that person, or number two, you believe that you can change that person. So particularly when it comes to women, trying to change men, what ends up happening is we get into relationships knowing what we did before we got married, knowing we caught him 3 times at the hotel with that girl that looked like Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? Just said. Okay. So then now once we get married, we think we can change him. But like Lawrence was saying, if that happened before y'all said I do, and even in some instances, the night before you say I do, you find out about it, you think walking down the aisle and putting a ring on your finger is going to change that? It doesn't. That hunting spirit is still there.
And it takes God and an act of Congress to get a man to change it.
And so let's now, as we're coming to this, so when we're thinking about something that has happened to us, and we're taking, let's talk about the personal responsibility that we're taking for
That's
other
it.
people's
That's it.
actions. Can we just address that, for a second, Trey? What is how is it that we get to a place, you ever seen, and some of us have been guilty, we out here bossing in the streets, out here because listen, one thing y'all got to know about us, real, raw, and relevant, can be out here bossing in the street, out here making whatever money we gonna make and taking care of this, and we'll still let somebody make us feel this small. We'll still let somebody make us feel like we're not enough, that we're not good enough, that we don't have what it takes. Still will allow somebody to make us feel as though we're not who we should be, or who we need to be in the relationship. How do we, as we start thinking about us in those situations, and when we start thinking, there you go, when we start thinking about us in these situations, how do we stop taking personal responsibility for somebody else's bad behavior?
Wow.
Yeah. See, women, unfortunately, we internalize. Men do things externally. So when they're trying to self-soothe, they will do behaviors such as
I think you guys are breaking. I think you guys are breaking up just a little bit. See, we getting good. That's why this thing trying to go left, because this is getting so good, and I want to make sure that we deal. She said something that she's coming back on. One of the comments that she made was that we self-soothe, and you guys, I can hear you guys, and as I'm going to give you guys time to come back.
Men
there you go.
self-soothe externally. Women, we internalize things.
I'm gonna let you guys. I think something is happening. Let's see. Can you guys get? I think maybe the signal got weak, so we're gonna. Let's see. I think I'm gonna bring you guys back on, because you talking good, and I don't want the people to miss this about this self-soothing and internalizing, because that's something that we do. As what we do as individuals. Tracy and I are close friends, so we've talked about this for a long time. Self-soothing is when we do something because we're trying to make ourselves feel better. And I need y'all to understand, and I see them backstage, so I'm looking at them as they get along. So I want y'all to hear this. When we self-soothe, it's sometimes not about the thing as a whole, but we're doing it because we want to make ourselves feel better. And so I'm going to bring them back up, because I really want, Tracy said that men self-soothe externally and women self-soothe internally. So there you guys are. Tracy, can you deal with that just a moment? Because that was so good.
Yeah. So men often resort to things that are external, like they may go to pornography. They may end up just going from relationship to relationship, trying to self-soothe. And what women do, we internalize. So we try to figure out what's wrong with us that caused the man to go somewhere else. So we begin doing things like comparing ourselves to other women. Like, what does he see in her? And don't let us find out like he's going to a specific woman that we know of. Now we really begin to dissect that woman and go, what does she have that I don't have? And then as we begin to internalize those things, we turn angry towards ourselves. then we get angry with ourselves. Why am I not this way?
Mm.
That causes us to be actually destructive. We will start doing some really destructive things to our bodies. And not only that, but we begin to poison our own minds. So if
Mm.
I'm not good enough, then I just won't act good enough. And
Yeah, that's
then we
good.
begin to self-destruct from the inside out.
Lawrence, and I want to flip it because I know we could go all night, but I know I want to really get to this as well. So sometimes I think, and I can say this, as a strong woman, I think sometimes though we don't, because as you said earlier, because men don't verbalize in the same way that we do, because they have not been taught how to explain things, me, and they internalize and they self-soothe. What are some things, and because I really feel like I feel led to pray for the winds of recognition, because I think a lot of times that we get signals and we misinterpret them because we don't know what it means. And sometimes we get mad because the man stomps off, or he goes out, or he drinks, or he watches TV, or he shuts the door, it shuts down. Sometimes what are some of those, because like Tracy just said, some of that is self-soothing. What happens with men, what is that peak when they feel like they can't, what is it when they can't, when they missed it, they weren't able to pay a bill, or when they weren't able to come through when they wanted to come through, or if they missed the mark, or if and it was their fault. Talk about just that what men do internally, and how sometimes women, we miss that. We think he don't even care that he did that, when he could very well care very deeply about it. But because we don't recognize what that looks like, we feel like, let me bring it to your attention, let me tell you, because apparently you don't know you did. Talk about that part about it, because I think a lot of men don't articulate, or maybe even feel as though they can do it. Somebody said to me earlier this week that they don't have a safe place to release, and so I just kind of want you to talk about that for a second.
And that's exactly where I was going to go with that. Because again, you have to realize that most men feel vulnerable to really express and to share. And so we are the type of men are actually built to want to take care of the business for the most part. And it's a new day and age now, so I can't say that with all men, but most real men are really built to make sure that they take care of family, take care of the kids. And so when we, say for instance, lose a job and we're out of work for a minute, it does something to our pride. It does something to our ego. Or if a woman makes more money, it does something to men who are not secure within themselves. Instead of realizing, hey, we're on the same team, we're all in this thing together. And so insecurity plays a big role in a lot of these things. And so there are just so many other dynamics that go along with this. But again, at the same time, men, we are, for the most part, men are kind of soft in a sense, but we don't express it the way that women think we express it. And so we have a way of doing things that's just totally different. And it's just gonna take me a little bit longer to go into all this conversation, but this is really good. I appreciate this opportunity. But I think that we got to get to the point where having more conversations for that.
This is so good. And that's why, y'all, we're going to do something real quick that I think is going to be powerful. But that's why I want you guys to stay connected with my friends, Pastor Lawrence and Dr. Tracy Knighton. They do this every single week. They have thrown out I saw some of the topics of some of their, give us some of the topics of the stuff y'all been talking about in the last week. Because some of those things make me say, good gracious. Talk about some of the topics. Just give them the names of some of the topics y'all talked about over the last couple of weeks.
We actually started with Sheltered In with the Knightons. And so it actually started because we were sheltered in and we thought we would go back and just start sharing with couples. So the very first one we did was don't let COVID code your relationship. In the past couple of weeks, we've dealt with, are you for rent, for sale, or for real?
For real.
We've dealt with, it's not you.
For sale or for real? That's good.
That's right. We also dealt with, it's not you, it's me. I should have loved me more.
That's good.
We've dealt with a number of topics that really are life applicable and things that people are really dealing with. I mean, that's the key to it. We just try to be real in our conversations. And so the thing about it is you've got to have conversations. Like next week, I already got my topic, and my topic for next week is that the sex won't keep them. I want to deal with that because a lot of times, women think that good sex is going to keep them.
This is,
And
man, this
I
is
always
good.
I tell women all the time, men know what category they're gonna put you in when they first meet you.
Shush. Y'all hearing this? Listen, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. Do they do counseling? Absolutely. I want y'all to click their names, all their information. It's on their pages. When we're done with this, we're gonna be able to. They're putting it in the comments. Thank y'all. Nova Counseling Consulting Services are there. Pastor Knighton has counseled so many couples pre marriage, post marriage, in between marriage. Listen, I'm telling y'all, when I say I know these people personally, but we're gonna do something real powerful. And I just feel a wind. I'm gonna ask a question, and then literally we're going to pray some things. I think one of the things, again, one of the reasons why I put this relationship revival together is because I believe there should be a revival of relationships,
Yes, for
all
Mhm.
kind
sure.
of relationships, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with God, our Father. We dealt with that last night. Our relationships with each other, our relationships with our friends. We're going to deal with all of this. And so I want to, Tracy, ask you a very vulnerable question when it comes for women. And again, we know we're not speaking for everybody. That's our disclaimer. But when it comes for women, Tracy, what are some things that you believe that women really want to hear? Like, I know, because there are just some stuff that as women we're afraid to own our feelings. We really
Mhm.
feel like it's gonna make us look vulnerable to say, I really wanna just hear this. I really wanna just know this. I really just want to feel. And then I'm going to flip it and let Lawrence tell us this. And then we're going to pray some things. And I just believe that this is going to, now, y'all, this is going to require us to be real, vulnerable, transparent.
For
But
sure.
sometimes I think some of you and some of us, we grapple with, being transparent, even being married. You can have been married you've been married 10, 15, 20 years and still have parts of you that you can't ask for. You feel like you can't ask or request, or it's just too petty, or it's too, or that's, I should be past wanting to know this, and how do I and say this. What do women as a whole, you're a therapist, you're a counselor, you're a coach, what do women, and for the men, I need y'all to really, y'all can share this with your boos and your babes later,
Right.
but what do women really want to hear?
Women really want to hear that they have their spouses, boo, their bae, their husband's heart. They want
Mm,
to know that he can create this happily ever after. Remember, girls, we learn how to be wives early on. Cinderella teaches us that everything will happen in the end and we'll live happily ever
happily ever after, right?
that's at our foundation. So in the end, we want to know that he's the one that can be our Prince Charming. He's the one that can hold our heart in his hand. He's the one that can look at me and say, you know what? Even at 50, even at 60, even at 70, I still think you're the most amazing woman that I ever met in my entire life. We want to hear that you love us. We want to hear that when we walk into a room, certain parts of your body still stand at attention.
Oh,
We
Ooh,
want to hear that. I'm just being honest. That's what women want to hear. They want to hear that when I come home from a hard day's work, that it's not about the sex, it's about the intimacy. So you've washed the dishes, you've put the kids to bed, and you don't want to have sex with me. You want to get into bed with me and cuddle and hear about my day. That's what women want to hear. They want to hear that they're going to be protected. They want to hear that even if you are unemployed as my husband, you know that I got your back and you got mine. They want to hear that your name, when you give me your name, it means something. That something inside of me begins to stand up a little bit straighter because I belong to
right.
you. We're one, we're connected, and we're going to create this family unit together. Women want to hear that, you know what, when I come home and I've had the day from hell, can I say that? When I've
mhm.
had the day from hell, that I can come to you and lay in your arms and you're going to make me feel better. That no matter what happens outside that door, I have a warrior, I have a king, I have
Mm,
somebody that's going to stand up for me. Women want to hear that, you know what, at the end of the day, when all said and done, that I mattered in your life.
Yeah.
yes.
That if I die before you, you're
Mm,
gonna miss me. that if I die before you, you're going to long for my bosom to suck from. If I die first, that you're going to still remember me, bringing you joy and happiness. That's what
That's
women
good.
want to hear.
True. Now, last thing about this, listen, the women going crazy. Why is it so hard for us to say, I need to hear that? Because I think the other thing women want to hear is we want to hear, I need you. No, literally,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I need you. Bring me joy. I cannot imagine
Mhm.
trying to do this thing by myself.
Yeah.
I think we feel those things, and we like, "Oh, I want that so bad." Why? What is it that's making us muzzle our mouth and just say, "Hey," because we think men gonna be mind readers, and you should have known. I need, but how? What keeps us from saying, "I need to hear that"?
I think a large part of it is just us being vulnerable. We're so afraid. It's particularly nowadays because a lot of women have grown up without a man in the house. So
Mm,
they don't know what that covering really looks like.
mm,
So yeah, I can go, I can be your ride or die, but it's another thing when I gotta open up and take this wall down that I put up to protect me.
Right.
I gotta take this wall down now and not only protect myself, but I gotta let you in too.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Okay. So
yes.
that's a different level of vulnerability. And
Yeah,
then once I give my heart to you,
yeah,
what are you really gonna do with it?
yes, yes, yeah. That is so good. Now we're gonna flip it, man. Listen, this relationship revival, and we just in night two, y'all. I want y'all to hear we just in night two, and so we just in night two, and tomorrow going to be the biggest thing that. I mean, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. So it's just gonna be amazing. Lawrence, I really want to do this. Men, what do you believe, as having coached men and prayed over men and worked with men and counseled them? What do you feel as though men, and y'all listen, I see y'all, I'm gonna just bring them back on my one of my Monday night shows, and we're gonna do a real raw and relevant Q&A, and we just coming on, and that's all we gonna do. Is it's gonna be called Marriages for Grown Folks, and we gonna do the nighttime, and y'all just come on, and we just gonna let y'all go for it and ask questions, and you gonna get whatever you gonna get. So Lawrence, I want to ask you same question. Men, what do you feel like? Because a lot of women, we can think we know. What do you think men are really from their spouses, from their significant others? What do you think men really are really listening for or want to hear?
I think men are actually listening for a lot of the same things that women are listening for as a relationship,
Wow.
wanting to feel like they are the prince charming. They want to feel like they're loved. It's just that we don't know how to express that to them. And I think ours goes back to childhood. Ours goes back to our youth, because again, you got to understand that a lot of men have not come from loving families where the man
Right.
was the one who instilled that. For me, I grew up in a household where I had both parents, but I never heard my dad say, I love you. I never heard
Mm,
my dad say, I'm proud of you. So
Mm.
I had to learn. And I think the only reason why I was able to learn how to be as open and say, I love you and all that is because of my relationship that I developed with God.
mm,
And when, like Apostle Eckhart said last night, when your relationship is strong with God, it makes it easier to say those type of things to your
Right.
spouse or to your son. So when I came up, I told myself when I was a teenager, I said, man, if I ever have a child, that my child would never grow up saying that my dad didn't say I love you, my dad didn't say I'm proud of you. And so even with him being 33 years old, if I called him right now before I get off the phone, he's going to beat me saying it, or I'm going to beat him saying it. If he walked through the door right now, I'm going to give him a hug and I'm going to kiss him on his cheek. He's 33 years old. And the other thing that I think a lot of men want to hear, and especially for those who came up in families that didn't have a dad, is I'm sorry.
mm.
That's
It-
the main thing I think that a lot of men are missing, is that 2-word phrase, I'm sorry.
Wow.
And the sad part is they probably will never get it.
Jesus, that brings me into I try to do these nightly revivals, an hour and a half. I wanted that brings me to something. Most of you, a lot of you may be new to me, but some of you all may not have seen. I did a video. It wasn't even it wasn't even planned. I was in Wilmington at the end of January, and I had to. I was there for two days, and I spoke Saturday night and Sunday morning. And I never forget, Saturday I was talking about spiritual gifts. I was just talking about spiritual gifts, and I got to the altar call, and you guys know I'm a prophet, so I kind of shifted into the prophetic, and then I was calling to the altar. I was calling people, and I was talking about reconciliation, and all of a sudden on camera I said, "Stop! I need everybody to move away from the altar." And I said, "Men, if there is something that I've said today that has arrested a part of you that needs healing, that needs to be spoken well over, that needs to be covered, I'm not going to beg, I'm not going to ask, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you come to the altar?" And so the video opens with an altar full of men. And now this actually happened at Pastor Knighton's church. I was at y'all's church,
Oh, yeah.
and I was headed back home, and I stood on the pulpit, and they threw the mic in my hand and was like, "You the guest speaker this Sunday." And so I remember I stood on the pulpit and I said, "Men," and I look up, and there are men by the dozens. They're at this altar. And I looked, and for the first time, I felt the vulnerability. I don't know what anointing I was operating in. And I'm actually going to repost the video if I can find it tonight after this, because I think we need to see the manifestation. And so I was standing over these men, and I said, "Men, I need to say something to y'all that the Lord is saying y'all need to hear." And I said, "Women, some of you all can't hear through the sorrows of your own souls." And I
Wow.
said, "But men, I need to say to you, I'm sorry." And I start going to each man and placing my hand on their shoulder, on their head. And I said, "I'm sorry for taking you for granted. I'm sorry for thinking that you could replicate something that you never were exposed to. I'm sorry for neglecting your needs. I'm sorry for putting pressure on you that your shoulders were never even able to bear. I'm sorry for wanting to be the only concern you had in your own life. I'm sorry for taking advantage of some of the things that you did. I am just so sorry for not loving you fully and loving you with conditions. I'm so sorry for trying to get you to be the kind of man that I could only dream of, just putting unfair expectations, and I don't even have to be the woman. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for my words that wounded you. I'm sorry for when they pierced you, arrows that I shot. I'm sorry for being the woman that tore down her own house with her own hands. I'm sorry because I said stuff and felt like you were just going to get past it. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry for the neglect. I'm sorry for shutting down my body when I felt like it was going to manipulate you. I'm sorry for turning to somebody else for comfort and conversation when you were right there. I'm so sorry for being more bitter and angry and not understanding. I'm sorry. And I started apologizing to these men.
Wow.
And I wept. I wept, and I looked around, and the men were weeping too. And I said to the women, I said, "If there's a man up here, your husband, your brother, your pastor, and the more the women came and said, "I'm so sorry." Like I was so wrapped up in what I needed and what I wanted and what I'm so sorry. The women start coming up, and the men cried so hard. Some of them were on their knees. And one man, I posted it, and there was a man that said, you have no idea who I am." He says, "I have 6 boys, and I was married, and my wife actually left me." He said, "And there were so many things I was accused of that I never did. There were
Wow.
so many things he said, "And I've just been waiting to hear an apology. I just felt like and even though she never said it, I'm telling you, I'm doing all I can to hold myself together."
That's
He said,
powerful.
"But because I heard you say, 'I'm sorry,' I feel like now I can be healed. I feel like now," and then I posted it on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn for professionals. And there was a man who worked in the mayor's office for the city of Atlanta, and he said, "This was as a balm in Gilead. This was soothing to my soul. You have no idea the weight, the pressure that we're under. You have no idea the fear, the constant fear we
That's
live."
good.
And so the misunderstanding and the indifference and just never thinking and just getting so caught up in what we need. And I said, heroes need healing too. Man, we want
Sure.
men be our heroes, and we want them to help and come through. And if we have a bad day or if we broke on the side of the road, just they're gonna show up. But heroes, man, y'all better catch this win. Need healing too. And so even now, I'm really just going to pray. I'm really just going to really just usher in an anointing of prayer, of forgiveness. Men, if you're watching this, if you're watching it later, some women, if you just have to be just, because walls are gonna come. Some of y'all are saying, but he won't talk to me. Well, sometimes it's because he just need to understand.
Right.
No,
Understand.
you hurt me. He won't communicate. Well, it's because you said he told you something and you repeated it, and you
Right.
thought it wasn't a
Right.
big deal.
Right.
And your friends came back and said you said, and it wounded him. And heroes need healing too.
Right.
And right, and
Right.
sometimes they don't know how to ask for it, but that doesn't mean you can't offer it. Can I say
Right.
that again? Just because they don't know how to ask for it doesn't mean you can't
Sure.
offer it. I can still offer. And I remember after I did it, I was so convicted. I came home and I said, honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I just thought you always had it together. I'm sorry because
Mhm.
I just felt like you just I don't know what I thought. If we did without if we had to do that, you would just find it out. I'm sorry for not wondering, well, where did the money come from? Well, what did you have to do to make sure we didn't
Right.
get the nice guy?
Right.
I'm sorry for not wondering what kind of personal sacrifices did you have to make in your own family to put me first. I'm sorry because I'm so busy saying you're not this and you're not that, but you took my children under your
Wow.
own wing. I'm sorry because you showed up for me and I still complain because you was late, but you showed up when other people never. I'm just so sorry. Like it never occurred to me
Wow.
that you're somewhere holding something. I feel the power that you're somewhere holding to bitter words that your mom said to you. You're still somewhere holding on to things that were passed down to you. And then here I am. Here you are loving me the best way you know how, with no example, with
Right.
no protocol,
Right.
Right.
with
Right.
Right.
nobody
Right.
showing you the way, with no Jesus, with no relationship with Christ, with no pattern. And here I am mad because you didn't do this petty stuff. I'm so sorry because you didn't call, because you didn't answer when I called, because you was because you put your phone down for me. I'm sorry for being petty because I didn't
Wow.
feel like cooking because I had an
This is
attitude.
good.
You've been working all day. I'm just
Right.
so sorry for seeing that you look like you had an attitude, but now I need you to pay. And I saw that you had a need. Don't know how to express yourself except sexually, and I'm gonna hold that from you because I am so sorry.
Wow.
And we think
Mhm.
it takes something away from us to say it, but what it does is it puts something back into us because it puts something back into him. And
Right.
so sometimes the most powerful walls come down because we're saying, so I'm praying now that the winds of reconciliation
Mhm.
to blow. Men, have we ever thought, I'm sorry, to say I'm sorry to this woman who already had a dogmatic daddy who tried to make her feel like she had to be perfect, who had made her feel like she had to earn her love? Baby, I'm sorry for getting mad about the dishes when I didn't even know before I got there. You almost lost your mind trying to manage the kids and trying to manage
Right. Right.
finances
Right.
and trying to still look good. I'm sorry for not noticing that you had a new hairstyle or you put on a new dress because you spent all day trying to get yourself together in time for me to see you and I didn't even bother. I'm sorry that I just eat your food and keep moving and I didn't acknowledge that it took a while, that your
Right.
mama never taught you how to cook, but you went and decided to learn
Right.
because you wanted to please me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not seeing how amazing you are with the kids and how hard you
That's
struggle
it.
to make them disciplined. And then I
That's
walk
it.
in and ruin it by letting them do whatever they want to. I'm sorry because I just undid it. I'm sorry for not thinking that perhaps the reason why you're not so sexually transparent with me is because you were abused by older brothers and
Right.
That's it.
God daddies. I'm sorry for not seeking to see if you needed individual wholeness for your own self, but I just wanted to say you need to give me what you need. I'm sorry because I didn't understand that you grew up in a verbally abusive home. And so when
That's
I'm
it.
cursing and when I'm angry and when I'm yelling, I make you internalize some things and go with
That's
it.
it.
Sorry. And sometimes when we neglect the simplest things, walls come down.
Mhm.
Walls come down and the winds of reconciliation will blow because we took time to move out of the way and said, God, is my stand worth not saying sorry? Am I going to
Wow.
stand so hard on what I want to happen and what I need to do? I'm sorry. And can I say, it gets us into our same relationship with God. Because if we can't put ourselves in that position with our people, what it looks like, God, I'm sorry because I didn't even allow you to minister to me before I tried to be somebody else's husband or wife. I'm sorry because I neglected to get sound doctrine and counseling before I decided that I'm going to be responsible for somebody. I'm sorry because I didn't go get help for my own sexual addictions before I put somebody else. God, I'm sorry because I didn't let you make me whole before I decided to operate as somebody's hero. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? And so we don't understand that we get to a place where we put our stake in the road and we feel like I'm sorry, daddy, I'm sorry because I'm still waiting for an apology and I don't realize your daddy was a drunk. Your daddy beat you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for waiting for you to apologize. And I'm treating my husband like I'm treating him because I'm really taking out my anger on him. And so let me forget you apologizing to me. I'm sorry for holding you to a standard that you will never be able to live. I'm sorry. You know what, mama? I'm sorry that I allowed your toxic talking to be so ingrained in me that the only way I know how to talk to my husband is with toxicity. I'm sorry. Let me forgive you. I'm sorry that I've held on to this bitterness for so long because I got to be free, because I'm holding my marriage hostage, because I'm holding my heart hostage, because I'm holding my healing hostage.
That's it.
Words that will usher in the winds of healing, that will usher in the winds of reconciliation, that will usher in the winds of recovery.
Wow.
I'm sorry. And so I want all of you all, and this is a sober moment because I feel the weight of this, but I also feel the anointing of deliverance. Sometimes what we just need to do sometimes is, you know what? I'm waiting for this man to apologize. Well, you know what? Let me kick it off. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry that when I get mad, I stop speaking for 3 days. I'm sorry when I get excited, I start yelling at you because something really happened at work and I haven't learned how to communicate. Because I'm sorry for thinking I'm protecting you from what I'm angry about. But if I just released it to you, I actually wouldn't be so angry. I'm sorry for manipulating our conversation so that I can be the winner. I'm sorry. And you would be surprised at what gets ushered in. You would get surprised at what you would feel, what weights would drop off of you, what areas would fall from you in just this. And so we pray even now for the winds of healing to blow, the winds of reconciliation to blow, the winds of recovery. We pray even tonight for marriages, for men who are still dealing with little boys on the inside of them that were never told that they're okay just the way they are, and that it's okay if they make mistakes, and it's okay to cry and show emotion so that they can love their wives like they want to. I pray for every man who had to grow up without a father, and every man who grew up with a father that was so emotionally and psychologically and verbally abusive that's all they had to build a wall around themselves just to be able to cope with life. I'm sorry for men who have to hide from your vicious words by staying at work all night because they can't bear to be wounded any longer. I pray even now for healing. I pray for every woman who has refused to get healing and wholeness and restoration and coaching and counseling for her wounds. And so she hides behind the ring, but she won't be present in her marriage, and that she puts her love on her children because she feels like they'll reciprocate something she really needs from her spouse. I pray even now for healing and for deliverance for those little girls on the inside who's trying to make their husbands pay for what their daddies did. I'm praying even now for wholeness, for healing, so that we don't pass these cycles on, so that we don't live in a perpetual state of despair and despondency. I pray even now for the winds of healing to blow tonight on every marriage, on every relationship, on every person, every individual, every family represented. We cast down every imagination, every thought of unworthiness, every turmoil, every tumultuous thought, every demon of torment that is causing us to feel as though we're not worthy of love, or that it's not a safe place for us to be whole and to be loved. We come against it and we send healing now. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Man.
Amen.
Powerful.
And y'all, thank y'all for being here tonight. I was just I'm always just so grateful for you guys for your role in my personal life. So grateful to always know that I don't ever have to worry about if y'all got my back or if I got y'all. Y'all ain't got that issue to worry about. Thank y'all so much for coming on this journey. I wouldn't have dare had a relationship revival and I brought home the home team. Like I don't work like that, but I appreciate you guys. Is there anything that you guys want to say tonight just to kind of seal this or to bring this in or just to put out there to the people? I want to make sure that you guys are able to have those words.
I just always want to remind people of this. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay. It really is. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay not to ask for help. And
Mm,
so you have people who are out there who will help you navigate, who help you unpack baggage, who help you hit a button to get started. Now I won't say a reset button, but I'll say a start button to
mm.
actually begin this new life that you want, that you envision, that you feel that's in your heart. So that's what I just want to leave with people tonight. It's okay not to be okay, and it's not okay not to ask for
Right.
help.
That's so good.
Yeah, and I just want to say to all of the couples, married couples who are on here, and even for singles, I would simply like to challenge you to have conversations with your spouse, especially. And
Mhm.
we talked about this earlier about your wants, your needs, your expectations, and your non-negotiables. And you also want to get to the point where, just like the president does a State of the Union address, you want to get to the point where you have a State of the Marriage address. You can do a quarterly, you can do a yearly,
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. You always want to have conversations so that everybody stays on the same page.
That's good. Y'all are asking. You can go to Lawrence or Tracy's individual page. You can go to the My Relationship Movement Facebook page. You can go to Nova. We've put a lot of them in the comments, and I'll make sure that after this is over, I'll try to put it in the subject line of this video, and I'll tag them in it. So all you have to do is click their name so that you can find them. So I
I
want you guys to stay connected with them. Yes, sir.
just want to also mention that I have a book called If It's Love, It Will Last. If
If it's
it's
love,
love,
it
it
will
will
last.
last. They can go to the myrelationshipmovement.com Facebook, website, and get the book there. If it's love, it will last. Chapter titles such as Why Men Have Not Learned to Want Love, A Woman's Expectations is Check-in Time. Are you carrying excess baggage? Can I be me? Here's my heart. If it don't fit, don't force it. Denial is not a river in Egypt. Great books. Listen, you gotta get the book. If it's love, it will last. Myrelationshipmovement.com. You go on the website, you'll be able to order the book.
Listen, get the book. He's amazing. Thank y'all again. Listen, I just got to remind y'all every single night this week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we in revival. Tomorrow night, I just want to go ahead and plug this. So, tomorrow night, I'm bringing in four of my friends. They are all doctors. And when I say we about to do surgery, now it might hurt your feelings a little bit, but listen, we going to talk about what happens when you out here trying to do great and be great and folks start hating on you and they start shading you and they start why they got to start trying to top you, trying to compete with you, trying to compare, start not supporting you. What is that saying about them? What is it saying about you? And so we are literally going to deal with how do you deal with jealousy? How do you deal with competition? How do you deal with when you're trying to move forward and people are tripping? When I say we dealing with all of that, it's going to be so raw. When I say that round table discussion tomorrow night, it's going to be off the chain. Every night, we just going to keep going around higher and higher. So again, we're going to make sure after this is over, we're going to go through the comments. If you guys ask questions, that we make sure that we give you guys what you guys need. And so thank you again for being here, guys. So grateful to all of y'all. Meet us back. Listen, if this was good, don't just be like, oh, that was good. Share it. Tell somebody about it. Make sure you up and ready for tomorrow night when we take it to the next level. So as I always say, thank you guys. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you. May he give you peace and peace. We'll see y'all next time.